There are so many different workflows and tools you can use and things that work on both ends of the process. So I used my Mac's, I think it's called Shortcuts or Flow or Workflow. I don't know what they call it now. Is it Shortcuts?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was that? I heard chocolates.
It wasn't
Yeah.
Shortcuts or Workflow. It's Shortcuts, isn't it?
Oh, fuck.
You can hear chocolates if you want.
No.
Are you feeling hungry, Mikey? Right. Let's try it again. Welcome to the 20-Minute Mentors podcast. Recorded in Clanfai Perth Wing Ed Kun Welling King Drof Kun Lands and Go Yasilida Go Go Go. Here's your hosts. Hi everyone and welcome back to the 20-Minute Mentors podcast. I'm Matt.
And this is Michael here.
And today we're taking a slight pit stop away from the career journey we've been on. So far we spoke around how to identify what type of career I might be interested in, how to find resources around that might help with that. And also we've looked at, CVs and interviews and kind of making those first steps into your career. And I thought this would be a really good place to take a bit of a pit stop and do a book club, for lack of a better term, a place that we can kind of stop for a minute and take the pressure out of ourselves for that job hunt and kind of look at where we can get information from other sources. So today's the first book club episode we're going to try. I've surprised Michael with this because it's a book that I've read and you've not. So it could be quite interesting to get your thoughts on it too. So what we'll do during this episode is I'll take you through a book that I've read, what I took away from it, how I apply it in daily life if I do. Like I said, Mikey's not read this book before, so this could be an interesting place for you to find some areas to challenge me and kind of bring up questions on. And hopefully we can find something from this episode that you can apply to whether it be your job search or your career as you're in it now. So let's kick off.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this session because I know you're a big bookworm, and back when we were still working together, I always look forward to the insights that you provide during our one-on-one coachings about a book that you just recently read. So I'm very happy for our listeners to be able to experience that today. So yeah, without further ado, I'm ready when you are.
Don't build it up too much. It might be awful. So, as Michael said there, it's something I've done throughout my career. I've always had chat, read, and then kind of looked at what I can take from a book into a career or into a one-to-one or a mentorship or whatever it might be. The book that's kind of sat most with me most recently, and it's probably been recommended. Today, we're going to be discussing the book Atomic Habits. No doubt you've come across this book or you've heard of it before, or maybe someone has, brought it up in a conversation with you as something that's helped them. So, Atomic Habits is one of the very few books that I've read in Kindle form and not physical book form. As Michael said, I'm a massive book reader. So any opportunity I get, I will sit down and read. And I tend to go through a book every week and a half to 2 weeks. I'll grab something, read through it. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to work. The last book I was reading it's called Manifesting, and it's completely outside of work and it's about something very different and about how you align your goals with yourself. Previous to that, I read a book about psychology. So what I read is quite varied and it kind of goes all over the place. And because of that, I end up with some interesting aspects I take from certain books. So I guess we'll kick Atomic Habits off. Mikey, have you ever read Atomic Habits before? Come across it? Heard of it?
No, I haven't taken the time to read it, but I know it's one of those very popular self-help books that has actually helped a lot of people navigate through life, and it's actually very useful for careers as well. So as I've said earlier on, I'm looking forward to hearing about it from you, and who knows, I might as well get a physical copy of this book in the future if I like it. But pressure's on you now, mate.
We'll get one sent to you. Okay, so Atomic Habits. Before I start kind of talking about the book, I'm a firm believer that books are longer than they need to be. I really feel that when you write a book, that the publisher is kind of sitting with you saying, okay, but it needs to be X amount of pages. So Atomic Habits, I feel like you could condense into probably a paragraph or maybe a couple of pages. And the whole purpose of Atomic Habits is helping yourself to create new habits, whether that be professional or personal. Atomic Habits is about helping you to make changes in your life, whether it be through, work changes or personal changes. And the whole idea of the book is that if you make a small change regularly enough, that small change can then lead to a bigger change and a bigger change. So the word atomic meaning small level rather than nuclear. Now, the reason that I've picked this as the first book I want to talk about and why I found it so profound is after reading it, it's something that I started to do. So I had a few changes I wanted to make. I wanted to get fitter. I wanted to stop bad habits. So I looked at this book, read through it and thought, right, how can I start applying what this book is telling me? Make a small change and then follow that small change through and kind of make it part of my day-to-day life, really. So the first way I started to do this was I looked at a change I wanted to make, which was biting my nails. I was a huge nail biter. I know it's a really disgusting habit, but it's something I used to do all the time and absolutely hated it. So I started to tally up on a bit of paper how many days it had been since I last bit my nails. And then the idea of breaking that tally or breaking that streak is what then sort of encouraged me to keep going. A bit like, I guess, people who've been sober for a period of time, they look back and say, actually, I've been sober for 6 months, I don't want to ruin it now. So that was where I first started. And then I looked out for, how else can I apply this in my daily life? So I've stopped biting my nails and I'm on day 10 and that's really cool. And I can see it's helping. What else can I apply it to? So I then also looked at, more wellness type thing. So I set a goal of running 5K 3 times a week. And again, I tracked that on a piece of paper initially. And then I also set myself a goal of drinking enough water each day. So two litres, I think it is, 200 millilitres. I don't know how that converts to our non-UK audiences, but I think it's about two litres. Is that right, Mike? Yeah, am I getting that completely wrong now?
I mean, yeah, we have the same 2 liters. I don't know what that would be in the US though. Quarts? Gallons?
Fluid ounces. I don't know. I really don't know. Enough water. That was the kind of the purposes of this, was to drink enough water. So I tracked those habits, and I thought actually, being able to go to a bit of paper each day and tick off and say I didn't do that or I did do that today is great, but I want to incorporate this into my lifestyle somewhere. So I found an application on the App Store called Streaks. We're not sponsored by Streaks. There is no affiliation between us and Streaks. I just found Streaks useful. However, if Streaks do want to sponsor us, that would be amazing. And I started using their app to essentially track that habit. So Streaks in the app allowed me to create a habit that I wanted to track the streak of. And then I could say, I want to achieve this every day, every 2 days, whatever it might be. That way, at the end of each day, I could then go in and press the button and said, confirm that. The app also sent me a reminder. So it said, 3 times a day, make sure you drank enough water. Or at 9 o'clock, make sure that you've done this or haven't done that. And I found that little reminder quite useful. So I was able to go, in my mind, this is the habit I want to take and want to sort of make part of my life. And then this is how this application or service is going to help me do that. Now, I've since moved on a little bit from that. And I'm no longer tracking the small habit of, I want to run 5K or I want to, get up the effort to go to the gym each day. I'm now taking that to the next level to say, actually, I want to go to the gym for an hour 4 times a week. Or I want to, do whatever it might be to kind of keep myself in that routine. The whole purpose of Atomic Habits was to start at that smaller level. So actually, if I don't feel comfortable enough to go for a 5K run 3 times a week, I should be setting the habit of put my trainers on. And then once my trainers are on, take them off. That's kind of the smallest level I can do to encourage myself to do this. And then actually, now I've got my trainers on, I may as well, leave the house and do a short walk and kind of build those habits up to build to a position where you're regularly doing the activity that you want to do. And that's why I found Atomic Habits was really, really insightful book to kind of bring me to that, because actually it's helped me not only look at the small habits I need to build. So I want to go to the gym, cool, maybe I don't feel comfortable. Let's get ready for the gym. Let's drive to the gym. Let's go through the door and spend 10 minutes there and slowly build up that confidence through habits. But I feel like it's also helped me pick up other habits that I've been doing more regularly. So if I pull up my streaks now, I can actually tell you what habits I'm tracking. So the habits I track as a result of Atomic Habits and a result of using streaks. I walk 10,000 steps a day. I track that every day, and the application reminds me of that. I've actually got 3,050 milliliters of water, which I think is 3.05 liters. I don't know why it's such a random amount. I do my exercise, and I've got a trigger there to say that I need to do at least 40 minutes of exercise above a certain heart rate, 60%, every day for 75 days. Streaks is telling me that I have done that for, oh, it's not going to show me, I don't know, I think it's 30 days. And then I also, every night, I write a journal, which we can talk about in another episode, but I keep a journal of things I'm grateful for, habits I've kept each day. And I'm on day 32 of doing that. So streaks and Atomic Habits have kind of helped me understand what I want to improve, as in I want to improve my physical well-being and walk more and go to the gym more. And I want to track that in a way by using streaks. I'm aware that I've spoken for like 20 minutes. Michael, you're always good at derailing my great plans with questions. And I know there's some bubbling in there. Go on.
I'm not aware of any habits that, I might actually need to change. And, this is one of the things where, I really look forward to our conversations because I always learn a thing or two every time we have these sessions, whether it be this podcast or, random messages that we exchange on WhatsApp or, even when we play on PlayStation. So, yeah, thinking about habits that I have. I think over the last year, the only thing that I could share to our listeners here is I started tracking my expenses. I don't know if you also do that though, but yeah.
Tracking expenses?
Yeah, expenses and income down to the last cent. I've been doing that for a couple of months now. And if you're using streaks, I'm using an app called Buddy. So it also gives out, reminders every day. I set mine at 7 p.m. every day. So at 7 p.m., it gives me a reminder like, have you added your expenses for the day? And, it just builds up that habit of, listing down everything that I've spent or all those, automatic debit charges that I'm not aware of. So at least by the end of the month, when I don't have any money left to my name, I can go to the app and, okay, I've spent this much on Steam. I've spent this much on PlayStation or whatever. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've been tracking since I moved here in Australia. And
I think that's it, though. I think habits don't necessarily have to be like groundbreaking, right? It doesn't have to be I want to go out and become like the best public speaker in the world. So how do I do that? I think a habit, especially from what I've experienced, as long as the habit is benefiting you in some way or adding some value to your like day or week, I think it's worth doing. And it sounds like the expenses one is probably, it sounds stressful. I'm the opposite. I open my banking app when I get paid and then when I'm due to get paid. And I hide everything in between those two dates.
oh, damn, the learning here goes both ways. I mean, to the developers of Buddy, if you're listening, thank you for the app that you've developed. It's actually a very powerful tool. It tracks everything and it's a zero-based budgeting app. So yeah, it has its nice features, but yeah, we're not talking about financial management in this episode, but it's just one of those things that I've started doing over the past few months. But while talking about habits though, or things that people can do, let's say one step at a time, in relation to the workplace, what do you think are probably good things that people could do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm trying to think if we ever discussed this when we worked together. So when it comes to a habit at work, let's think about how you deal with work. So do you remember when we worked together, how you used to know what you were doing, what was coming next? Can you remember how we used to do that?
Yeah, aside from Jira, we do have the documents that we exchange. Like these are the to-do lists, but we don't do that on a daily basis. We have them on like weekly ones. So
Hmm.
we know what we want to do on Mondays, Tuesdays, up until the end of the week. And it mostly gets more detailed if one of us, goes on holiday or something. So it's like a to-do list, at
100%.
least.
Yeah. And that's that. Yeah. The to do list to me has been like the biggest. It's the thing that I've copied at every career that I've gone to is using the to do list and then using the vagueness as the to do list moves out and the more clear, the better clarity as the to do list is clearer, is closer. Sorry. So so the habit there that we're trying to get to is, every start of the week, midway through the week, end of the week, whenever you are the sort of most mentally clear, is to update, check through your to-do list. And that's the habit that I try and I've built into every role I've been to is Monday morning, my habit is to sit down, work out what I need to do for this week. What do I know, or what do we know that's coming this week or this month? Get that out into a to-do list. And then building the habit of going through and checking that off as you do it. And as tasks come in that maybe weren't scheduled, adding them and then immediately closing them. And I think that not only builds the habit of forward looking into what you're going into, but it also builds the traceability of what you're actually been up to, which again in some businesses, and we'll talk about it as we get onto those episodes, can be quite big. So actually having that list to go, this is what I thought I'd be doing this week. These are the tasks that I have thought about on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning or whenever it might be. And so everything that I know might happen, I've created the items. I've spoke to my team about it. I know what I'm doing. They know what they're doing, or my manager knows what I'm doing, whichever dynamic you're in. And then once you get to that point, it's like, okay, I'll work through the tasks. And as I complete them, I'll tick them off. Maybe even order them by date is a huge thing that I do as well. And as a task comes in, which isn't on the list, which definitely happens, you have the opportunity to quickly add it and then just close it instantly. So being disciplined around your to-do lists is definitely a habit that I think is really important when you're in a workplace role.
And I guess for, building those to-do lists, if
Hmm.
let's say you're having a difficult time of identifying what you want to do, I mean, because this is on a case to case basis, depending on what role that you're currently working in. So I think my advice there would be is, if you find it difficult to plot down what you wanted to do or what you plan to do on a daily basis, or let's say a weekly basis, then maybe just at least try to plot it out starting in maybe perhaps an annual basis. Although I know the range is very huge, but let's say if you wanted to achieve something by September or by October, then maybe you can start thinking about, or you can jot it down like, okay, by October, I wanted to apply for a promotion, let's say for the sake
Mm.
of example. Then maybe that will open the doors to more points leading to, by March or by April, I need to increase my stats if you're a metric based employee. So
Mm.
I guess those types of goals or targets would definitely help, and then eventually you'd get to narrow it down to the finer details. So from annual goals or to do stuff, you break it down into semi-annual, then quarterly, until you eventually get down into the habit of working down those weekly to do stuff, or maybe perhaps a daily ones. Although that would be time consuming, but you'll eventually create the habit of you know, listing down the things that you wanted to do or that you plan to do
Mm.
for yourself or for your career.
Yeah, 100%. And there is so many different ways you can approach it. So the reason that I thought Atomic Habits would link nicely into the part of our career journey that we're in at the minute is, because it's very easy to get demoralized or demotivated when you're applying for roles. You apply for a few roles, you don't hear back, you hear that you were no good, or whatever the case might be. And it's very easy to get in that mindset of, why am I bothering? Like, I'm just applying and applying and nothing is coming back. So the reason that I thought Atomic Habits would fit quite nicely here is create a habit around applying for roles. So almost gamify where you are, in the sense of, I'm going to create the habit that I'm going to apply for 3, 5, 10, however many roles a day for the next 30 days. Now, just by creating that habit in your mind, once you've done it once or twice, then I certainly feel like I have to then go out and achieve it, because if I don't, I then break a streak, and I feel worse for breaking the streak than I do for anything else. So I think it kind of applies, in career as well as on your career journey of I want to try and find a way to become more confident. So I'm going to build a habit around talking to people. I'm going to try and talk to 2 or 3 people a day that I don't know, and that will then in turn help hopefully build confidence, and then you kind of go on that journey. So yeah, I think it can be applied in work as to the habits around tracking what you're doing, tracking your metrics, and also your starting career journey of that ladder up. There are so many different workflows and tools you can use, and things that work on both ends of the process. So I used my Mac's, I think it's called Shortcuts or Flow or Workflow. I don't know what they call it now. Is it Shortcuts?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was that? I heard chocolates.
It wasn't
Yeah.
Shortcuts or Workflow. It's Shortcuts, isn't it?
Oh, fuck. You said
You can hear
I heard
chocolates if you want.
No.
Are you feeling hungry, Mikey? Right. I'll try again. I think I got from, they're tools that you can use in different places. And, there are definitely applications and tools and whatever it might be that kind of work on both sides of helping you to identify what could be a good habit to create, and also, how to make that habit part of your life a bit easier. In my professional life, I use to-do lists, as we just spoke about. I make a habit of updating them religiously. So I use reminders in my Mac. I create a to-do list for each week, and then I add all the tasks that I'm doing in that week. And then I've created a workflow using, I believe it's called Shortcuts, the Mac app. It used to be called Workflow. I think it's now Shortcuts. That allows me to basically run a script which pulls out all of those to-do list items and then arrange them by date completed. So if I have a catch up with anyone on my team, I can sit down, I can run that script, and it will say Monday, these are the items completed, Tuesday items completed, Wednesday items completed. So the habit of actually keeping that up to date has helped me become more organized as a result of it. So yeah, habits and working styles will become a theme that kind of winds between all the episodes that we do. But I definitely think it's a habit that, whether you're starting out in your career pretty early, building habits, or whether you're looking for a job, building habits and trying to track how you're doing there, or whether you're establishing your career and looking to learn something new, I think habits and tracking them is a really powerful tool to have early on. I'm aware we have taken a bit of a deviation away from our career path, but I think dropping these little pit stops, book club stops, whatever we want to call them, is actually quite useful, because although Michael and I can talk about some of the things that we've experienced, actually being able to relate it back to where you might be able to go and get information if you really want to, I think can be quite helpful. So just to summarize what we spoke about, so the book that I was talking about today was Atomic Habits. It's written by a guy called James Clear. You can get it on Amazon, Kindle, audiobook format. It's kind of everywhere. And like I said, at its most condensed, and if we were to sort of summarize the book in a couple of words or paragraphs, it would be: start with the smallest change that you can make, and then build upon that habit bit by bit. So instead of setting yourself a big, audacious, scary goal of run 100 miles, actually start with a habit at a very small level of put my shoes on. Track that however you want to track it. Tracking the habit is really important, whether it be a piece of paper like I started doing, or using something dedicated like the Streaks app or Buddy, which Michael mentioned, and tracking how you're doing and are you maintaining it, and then using that information to firm up your habit as you go further on.
So, yeah, and thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time to share about the atomic habits. I'll definitely be starting to, reflect on things that I can also do on my end. But nonetheless, we are going to be having this kind of like a book club or book review, book insight episodes from time to time. After this episode, we are going to be resuming our current trajectory, which is going to be focusing on careers. But nevertheless, if you've enjoyed this episode, we are definitely going to be having more of this in the future. And I think it's going to be my turn next. Oh yeah, and before I forget, if you guys did enjoy or get something valuable out of this episodes or previous episodes, feel free to leave a rating or a review. It will tremendously help the project that we are having. And having said that, bye guys. See you next time.
Bye bye. Already got a review, haven't we?
Yeah, we got one from you.